Hello and welcome to the Grueling Truth. This is the top bets for the Toyota Save MART 350 this Sunday at Sonoma Raceway. I'm your co-host for this show, Joe Spilmanvand, along with Ryan Peters. But before we get into the best bets, I want to remind everybody that the Grueling Truth is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding an online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Ryan, we're here tonight to do the top 5 best bets, but you just left Chicago, and I was just telling you before we went on air, I'm glad you made it out of Chicago. You didn't get shot, so congratulations. I'm glad you're here with me tonight to do this show.
It's the little things. It's the little things in life that really matter, like surviving, entering a city, and leaving it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, especially Chicago. You went up to see a White Sox game, right?
Yes, sir.
How was that?
It was good. It was a really good game. It's first time being at Guaranteed Rate Field. It was awesome. I enjoyed it much more than going to a Cubs game, so I guess I'll get some hate for being an adopted Southsider now, but it was really good, and I got to see my boy Rowdy end up winning his pretty much only truck race this year, so that was
that's
fun.
Right. Well. We are doing a NASCAR show, and Kyle Busch did win the truck race today. We have some things to go over. You're going to go over Fanduel and some games going on Fanduel for the Save MART 350. And before we get into that, though, I'm going to give you the Grueling Truth top 5 best bets for the Toyota Save MART 350. If you would like, you can head on over to thegruelingtruth.com and catch the article of the top 5 best bets for the Save MART 350. But let's get into it real quick. And the first driver on our list for the top 5 best bets for the Save MART 350 this Sunday is going to be Kyle Busch. Now, Kyle Busch makes the list in the top 5 because he has 2 previous wins at Sonoma Raceway. As you know, he did run the truck race today, Ryan. So he didn't qualify well. I think he was just outside of the top 10 and qualifying for the second round today. But he
12.
He was 12. He did qualify 12. So I look for him. He knows the track. He ran a great race today. I look for him to advance that tomorrow and have a good showing. The next driver on our list is Martin Truax Jr., and he makes the list. He didn't qualify real well today either, but he makes the list simply because he has 2 out of the last 3 wins at Sonoma Raceway, other than last year when he finished 3rd. So, Martin Truax Jr., Ryan, is typically, historically, a good road course racer. I expect him to be up near the front when the checkered flag drops.
We'll talk more about him later.
Yes, sir. The next driver in the top 5 best bets this week is obviously going to be Kyle Larson, and you'd be absolutely crazy not to put Kyle Larson in your top 5 for bets this Sunday. He won the pole today, just barely beating out Chase Elliott, but he can flat out drive on road courses. Doesn't matter what kind of course, really. Also, Kyle Larson's had a little bit of string of bad luck. Hendrick Motorsports didn't set up their cars real well last week. I think Hendrick knows how to set up cars for road courses, so I look for Kyle Larson to be pretty dominant tomorrow, along with Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott qualified second today. He was almost just as strong as Kyle Larson. It really tells me that Hendrick did set these cars up well. And Chase Elliott is 3rd all-time in road course victories now with 7, only next to Tony Stewart. And who, Ryan?
I had Jeff Gordon.
Close.
I don't know. You threw me off. I wasn't ready for that trivia.
So he is 3rd currently in road course victories with 7. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chase Elliott picks up his 2nd win of the season tomorrow. And the last driver in the top 5, he's not always in good equipment, not a full-time Cup driver, but you got to put A.J. Almandinger in there. And A.J. Almandinger right now is plus 1,600 to win, and he could very well win this race tomorrow. Anytime he gets on a road course, he can win a road course race. He's kind of known as a road course specialist by many, I would say, Ryan. But really, A.J. Almandinger could just drive. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be on a road course. He has an incredible story. We talked about it a little bit on the show last week, and I think that a win for him tomorrow would be huge. And I look for him to finish strong, possibly win this race. Now, Ryan, 2 other drivers that I want to mention that did not quite make the top 5 for various reasons. but could give a great payout, and they do know how to run on road courses. And the first one of those drivers is Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe is currently right now plus 1,800 to win. He ran a great race at COTA. Made a mistake there at the end. He could have possibly won that race. I think he'll do well tomorrow. So I really throwing a $10 bet on him to pay out 190 might not be a bad choice, especially if he can run another great race. And the last driver I want to mention for the top 5 best bets, even though we're outside of the top 5 now, is Kurt Busch. And the reason why I mentioned Kurt Busch is because I think he could drive on road courses. He normally does fairly well. He did qualify well today. As a matter of fact, he qualified 11th, didn't he?
It's somewhere in that range. I'll be able to tell you because
he was
a little about him too.
He was out of making the second round by like 0.2, simply because he didn't go back out. But he's a veteran driver and he's got plus 2,000 odds, Ryan. So really, with a driver that's been as hot as he has lately, finished third, got himself a win in the last couple of weeks. He's plus 2,000. He knows how to drive on road courses. I don't think it would hurt to throw $10 down on him, make a little bit of money tomorrow. So that has been our top 5 best bets, the Grueling Truth top 5 best bets for the Toyota Save Mart 350. Now that we got that out of the way, Ryan, there's some games going on Fanduel for tomorrow's race, and I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about that.
Yeah, there are some fun games. I do want to give you just one other thing, Joe, to kind of go with yours, and this is a dark shot. Might as well just throw a couple dollars at it. Michael Mcdowell is plus 10,000 right now on FanDuel, and he qualified 7th. He practiced really good, and he's having one of the best seasons he's ever had. Some would argue his best season. He hasn't got a win yet, but you got a guy at top 7 qualifying, and he's at plus $10,000 odds or plus 10,000 odds. I'll throw $5 on that every day of the week because that's turning a turd into gold if he hits on that. So crazy things happens on these road courses. It's strategy sometimes happens, and we get guys that don't normally win. One crash in a turn can turn this entire race around. So that's just my little, I always like to throw dart shots in auto racing because sometimes they hit, and when they hit, you never forget. But
well, I was just going to say, since we are kind of doing a dual show here and showing FanDuel and DraftKings, Michael McDowell is currently on DraftKings plus 5,000 to win. So FanDuel's not rating them quite as high there, which, you're right. If you want to throw a bet on Michael McDowell, head on over to FanDuel, which, by the way, you could find the link to FanDuel or DraftKings if you like any of our betting suggestions tonight in the description of this video. So go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, and if I disappear, it's because I'm going to look at my list here so I can explain to you guys this. But going into the FanDuel game that I usually like to do, Joe, we mentioned the Toyotas qualified terribly this week. The only one that qualified well was out of JGR was Kyle Busch. He got 12th. You mentioned Kurt Busch got 11th. And whenever you're making a lineup, that's things you really want to look for is guys that don't qualify well, but are in good equipment because they're typically going to finish higher than where they qualified. And that's going to give you the most points. So when I'm building my lineup right now, Joe, Christopher Bell and Martin Truex are just these glaring pieces that you have to have in. Martin Truex, you're going to spend up for at $13,000 out of your $40,000 budget, and then Christopher Bell at $8,500. But these guys qualify 28th and 31st. Unless something catastrophic happens that you can't predict, these guys just ended up missing their setup, and they're going to finish better than that. You already mentioned it, Joe. Martin Truex Jr. is a good road course racer. There's no reason why he couldn't finish in the top 10 easily. And I think with you, Joe, you would think that would kind of be disappointing if he only finished 10th. And that's 18 spots better than where he's at right now.
Right.
Another guy, too, you talked about him as well. Qualified 16th. I think he's better than a 16th driver on the course when it matters the most, getting through traffic, and that's A.J. Almandinger. And he's priced up. He's at 11,500. But again, he's better than the 16th best road course driver. He's just in different equipment where that one-shot qualifying is not the true tale of a 350-mile race. So A.J. Almandinger, he's in my lineup. Another one, you mentioned him again, Chase Briscoe. He qualified 15th. He said he ended up missing a turn in qualifying. He practiced really well. He's going to end up finishing better than 15th, and I agree with you 100%. And your best bets and adding another driver that could possibly win this is Chase Briscoe. And then Kurt Busch qualified 11th. It's kind of hard the way that I set my lineup to find a driver that is going to maximize your budget without also having to spend higher. So that's where Kurt Busch kind of fits in. But, Joe, if you want to make a different lineup in this, you're going to have to spend up. And right now, Chase Elliott is $14,000, and so that's why he's not in my lineup, because I want to have Martin Truex Jr. in my lineup based on where he qualified. I'd rather spend the 13 on Martin Truex because he's 28th place, and I think he's going to make me up 18 spots. Now, there's always the possibility that, Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott end up winning this race and they run away with it. But typically we don't just see one guy running the entire race from up front. That's typically not how these road course races work. You're going to see people on different strategies. So you're not just going to get a guy that's going to lead, 200 laps like we would see maybe at a 1.5 miles traditionally or something of that nature, or a short track race. So that's a decision you have to make. Now I'm going to make you laugh, Joe. Are you ready for this?
I am.
The 6th highest payout on FanDuel is your favorite driver, Austin Cindric, that I picked this week. Wednesday.
What?
So, do what?
So what's the payout on that?
So he's the highest ranked, 6th highest ranked salary to choose him. So FanDuel must have watched our show and heard me propping up Austin Cindric for a guy that qualified 25th, that they made him the 6th highest driver. He's above Denny Hamlin. He's above William Byron, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, and the list goes on, Joe. So they must have drank my Austin Cindric Kool-Aid, but I didn't realize how potent and how spiked it was.
Well, do you know currently on DraftKings, Austin Cindric has the same odds to win this race currently as Martin Truex Jr., Chase Briscoe, Kurt Busch. He's got better odds than Joey Logano, who qualified in the top 10, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, and Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman actually didn't run he ran the truck race today. He didn't run a bad truck race. And I think he got out there for, to learn the course and to run some laps on the course. But one driver I think that we need to talk about and is a driver that I watched today. And maybe you'd be able to look and tell me what he's priced at on FanDuel. And
yeah, I can do
that. Daniel Suarez, who climbed in Hocevar's car today because he's got a broken ankle, came all the way from a lap down to finish within the top 10, I believe, or possibly, I think he finished 6th today in the truck race. He ran an incredible road course race today. Where is Daniel Suarez at on that list? Because with his performance today, and he qualified,
I believe 7th or 8th.
10. Yeah, he qualified 8th. He may be a driver to look out for tomorrow. Actually today now. And his odds on at least DraftKings right now are kind of astronomical. So where's he at on FanDuel?
So his current salary is $7,500, and to keep that relative to you, Joe, he's sandwiched in he's right in front of Kevin Harvick. He's right behind Alex Bowman and Tyler Reddick. With that 8th place starting position, that's the only thing that bothers me, because I'd rather him start in the teens, the mid, because the thing about Daniel Suarez is not that we think he doesn't have talent. He just finds a way to get caught in so much wrecks and stuff like that.
Yeah, he does.
And there, a lot of them aren't his doing. And if you got a guy that's starting 8th and he's kind of that mid-tier, to me, that kind of it can, if he doesn't finish well, it'll ruin your lineup. So that's why I typically give me Christopher Bell at 10,000 and he's starting 31st. There's so much more that will go right for Christopher Bell to finish above that, and you're only paying a couple grand more versus, so maybe he does win, but he's only going to go up 6 spots. Christopher Bell could have more points because he gained 25 spots and finished 6th or ran a few laps, as the leader. So that's kind of where I look at it. I agree with you, Joe. When I first saw, the things out today, I was like, man, I hope some of these guys are priced down. Again, I like Austin Cindric. I don't like him as the 6th highest salary, though. He's starting 25th. I think he's a decent road course driver, and that's why I picked him on Wednesday's show. But again, I'm not paying up for a guy that hasn't been running great in NASCAR currently. I'll do that with AJ Allmendinger. That's why he's a must-have in my lineup. He's 16th, and I think he's the second best road course driver out there in terms of driver talent. Maybe not in terms of car, but he may be bar none the best driver out there on the road course. So that's another guy that I'm choosing. And then I went a little bit more safe with Kurt Busch. I don't love that at where he's at 8,000. If you really want to take a shot, you can spend, I believe it was $5,000 on Michael McDowell. It was 6,300 for Michael McDowell, and that definitely can erase like a Kurt Busch to where you're using a more expensive driver and find a way to use a couple JGR guys and a Hendricks guy, either Larson or Elliott. But that's the way I constructed my lineup, and you'll typically see that my lineups are full of name brand drivers that just didn't qualify well. Joe Gibbs Racing didn't hit their mark. And I have a hard time believing we're going to see back-to-back weeks, Joe, where Hendricks didn't – the whole entire team missed last week. I feel like JGR, they missed their mark for qualifying, but I don't think we're going to see a scenario where all 4 drivers don't finish in the top 10. And I'm going to take my bet with Martin Truex and Christopher Bell.
I agree. Now, Ryan, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and the game that you're playing on FanDuel is called what?
I can tell you exactly what it's called. So it is just it's a salary game. And I apologize for people that are watching. Essentially, you just go ahead, click on the app. You go straight to NASCAR, and it'll bring up a full roster salary cap. It says our classic 5-driver roster salary cap game. You pick your 5 drivers. They each have a salary that you're working with, and you have to fit in the best team. That way you can't just pick the 5. You can't take those 5 best picks to win and then winning the thing. You got to use a little bit of strategy. You got to take some chances on some guys, that you think are that didn't qualify well to finish higher than they're at. Or what's even, more nerve-wracking to me is picking a guy that doesn't belong, probably had a really good qualifying run like Chris Buescher. I'm not picking Chris Buescher. He had a great qualifying run, but I just don't feel like there's too many variables that Chris Buescher finishes below the top 6 where he qualified versus just stay 6th the entire race. That's the way you have to look at it. Now, if you want to throw a shot where you're doing, Joe, and say, I want to throw $10 at Chris Buescher wins this race, yeah, you should. Because your payout is exponentially more than what you're going to get on him, and the risk versus reward is just not there. Betting straight drivers versus doing a salary cap. You're trying to form the best congruent team and eliminate as many variables as you can. And, that's why a guy like Chris Buescher and even Michael McDowell, to a sense, is tough for me to get in a lineup. But you probably should have one of them at least in one in case they have a tremendous day tomorrow.
Oh, I agree. So, right now we do this show, Ryan. We talk about, bets that you could place on auto racing. And we've said this before, but I do want to remind everybody that's listening that one of the reasons why we do that, we do this show, if you're not familiar with betting on auto racing, everybody in a NASCAR race, and a lot of times an IndyCar race, really F1's the only exception to this rule, is, for example, for tomorrow's race, Chase Elliott, who qualified second on DraftKings, is at plus 380 to win. Now, if you're familiar with betting odds, if you're in a plus odds situation, you are the underdog for that event. Auto racing is unique that everybody essentially, due to the variables of an auto race, is an underdog, which gives you the ability to place a low risk wager of $10 or $15 and have a tremendous payout on somebody that may be the favorite. So if, for example, tomorrow, if you decide to place a bet on Chase Elliott to win the race on DraftKings, he's at plus 380. $10 is going to pay you $38, plus you're going to get your $10 back. That's going to be a $48 payout. Now, is $38 a tremendous amount of money? It's not. But when you move on down the list and you start looking at somebody like AJ Almandinger, who's at plus 1,600 odds, that $10 bet's going to pay you out $170 for somebody that potentially has a real chance to win this race. Somebody like Chase Briscoe, who's at plus 1,800, that's going to be a $190 payout. Essentially, you'll get $180 plus your $10 back. And the risk of $10 when you're starting to bet on people that can potentially and have a real shot to win the race is something that you can't pass up. I know I see hundreds of people every day in their local gas station buying scratch-off lottery tickets for $5 or $10, and those have astronomical odds to even win your money back. The odds in auto racing and your chances of win, if you make smart bets like a Martin Truax Jr. or a Kurt Busch or a Denny Hamlin even, who's at plus 1,400, who qualified well today, you have a potential to win a little bit of money. Now, they're still underdogs. Are you going to win that money back? Probability says no, but the risks that you put up on a race winner and the reward far outweigh themselves if you are into gambling and you're into making small wagers for the fun of it. Ryan?
No, I agree, and that's why I talked about Michael McDowell. Where else can you place a $10 bet and get $1,000? Nowhere right now, and that's why I'm going to make that bet. I mean, think about that. Even if I don't want to, $100 bet if he wins tomorrow, just in today's what's going on in today's economy right now, that could change an entire week, an entire month for yourself. And if you don't have the means to make $100 bets, don't do it. But at the end of the day, if you got some extra income to throw down, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to invest $100 because there's a chance this could be 10 grand for a guy that qualified fourth tomorrow, Joe, you're just not going to find that, and that's the difference in auto racing is if you had a top 5 sports team that had a 1 in 36 chance of winning something, you're not going to get plus 10,000 odds. You're just not. I don't care who you are, like the worst team or the 36th best team in the NCAA tournament doesn't have plus $10,000 odds to win the whole thing. That's just not the way these things are set up. So, yeah, I mean, and to challenge what you said, Joe, not challenge it, that's not the right word, but to kind of build off of that, if you're a person that wants to make more safer bets, you had a ticker earlier for your best bets. Just make top 5 picks. Just double up. Just throw your 5 best drivers that you like based on qualifying, that you like based on practice, which if you get an app or anything, it tells all that stuff. It's easy to find. Just throw some top 5 bets down. And if you hit 4 out of 5 of those, then you just more than likely doubled up on all of them. Because they still have those type of odds.
And one thing to mention with top 5 bets, which you can do on DraftKings, you can also do top 3 bets and top 10 bets. Now, what you have to realize is the further you go down, Chase Elliott is minus 165 to finish in the top 5. Oh, that is the odd make. That is DraftKings saying he's probably going to finish in the top 5. So if you're not familiar with betting odds, what minus 165 means is essentially you have to, if you bet 100, it would cost you $165 to win $100 on that bet. So if you bet $165 and he finished in the top 5, you would win $100. Conversely, when you're talking about plus odds, those also mean the same thing. So Chase Elliott is plus 380 to win. So if you bet $300 or $100, you're going to win $380 on that bet. So just to clarify what that means, when the risk gets lower, obviously, like anything else in life, the reward is going to be much, much lower. I personally like to I like to pick 5 drivers every week and bet on them to win because obviously that gives the greatest payouts. Now, when you're looking at a driver like Kurt Busch this week, who potentially, like we said, could win, he was just outside of my top 5, but his odds to make it into the top 5 are plus 250, and those aren't bad odds at all. So if you're going to say, hey, Kurt Busch, I think he might be there. He might not be able to win, but he certainly can make it in the top 5. Plus 250 odds isn't bad at all.
No, it's not. And again, if you want to make the most out of your money, and again, Joe and I, we're not sponsors for either any betting website. We just literally go to betting.net to tell us who's going to give us the most money if we end up winning. And right now, Fanduel has Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson at plus 450. That's pretty significant, really. A plus 70 difference between the best drivers, and then it moves up to plus 1,000 for Kyle Busch, the third best driver. So, if FanDuel's their place that you want to make a little bit more money throwing these bets down, do your research. Betting.net helps you so much with that. That just goes ahead and shows you all these different places that you can go. Because at the end of the day, Joe, we want you to win money. And if you're going to make that bet anyway, get your best odds while you're doing it.
And that's true too, because let's say you're dead set on betting on Kyle Busch, and right now on FanDuel he's at plus 1,000. Well, on DraftKings, Kyle Busch is at plus 1,200. So if you're going to make a $10 bet on him, why not head on over or head to the betting site, to the sports book that's going to give you the higher payout for the driver you're going to bet on anyway. So Joe,
I mean, you're literally going to give yourself, you throw $100 down, just going to a different website just gave you $200 more bucks,
right,
for nothing.
Right.
That's it.
So definitely do your research. And like Ryan said, if you need help with that, you can always head on over to betting.net. And betting.net is your best bet for finding an online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Ryan, before we close out the show tonight, do you have anything else to add or any other wagering tips that you're just like, I kind of want to mention this, but it's kind of a long shot this week?
Yeah, I do. And it's for tomorrow's F1 race at 7 a.m. So you may not be able to, if you're on the West Coast and you're watching this and you're able to watch it before, a guy that's run really good in Baku is Sebastian Vettel. And a part of me really wants to lay down a prop bet for him to finish in the top 10. And I discretion that he has not done anything that gives me confidence the entire year with the way that he's been driving. But right now, I'm just looking at a top 6 finish. Let's just look at a top 6 finish right now for Sebastian Vettel. It's plus 300. I don't hate it. That's all I'm going to say. And so don't spam me with hate stuff if he ends up wrecking second lap. He's a guy that's literally been driving in the top 5 the last 4 races at Baku. So if you want to throw a little bit of extra change down because it's 7 a.m. and you're like, hey, I'm gonna give me some extra money for NASCAR later, I don't hate it.
Well, I'll tell you what, one thing I am seeing with the betting odds for the F1 race in the morning is Verstappen's at plus 150. And usually the guy that's sitting on the pole in the F1 race is usually at minus odds to win. So maybe we'll get to see 2 or 3 passes tomorrow morning.
I wouldn't hold your breath. The only thing that may be passing is one eye closing and then the other if it gets a little rough.
Well, I'm going to give a bet here. And this has to do with the Indy race tomorrow at Road of America. And that is Helio Castroneves is plus 5,000 to win tomorrow. Helio can win anytime he gets into an Indy car. And for you NASCAR fans, if you're wondering, Jimmy Johnson is at plus 50,000. So if you want to give $10 away to FanDuel or
50?
DraftKings, 50,000.
Is he
Plus
racing
50.
with 3 tires?
He's just racing on a road course. So, but really some serious bet. Will Powers at plus 1,400, and Scott Dixon's at plus 1,200, and the defending Indianapolis 500 winner Marcus Ericsson is at plus 1,000. So those are all guys that could potentially win the race. One thing I like about IndyCar is, it's a lot like NASCAR. It has great betting odds, and sometimes you get higher odds for people that absolutely can win the race. So if you're so inclined, I believe the IndyCar race tomorrow is at noon. So if you're wanting to throw a bet on DraftKings or FanDuel, you're going to have to do that before noon because your odds go way down if you try to do it within the race. So
Oh, yeah.
You don't make much money. But this has been our top bets for the Toyota Save Mart 350 this Sunday at Sonoma Raceway. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Ryan, thanks for coming on. Again, I want to remind you that the Grueling Truth is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding an online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Have a great night.